What's up, guys? My name's Joe. Welcome to Atwood Podcast. Today's guest, we have the director, producer, and writer of the new film, Primitive War. Primitive War is a new movie coming out about a bunch of Green Berets that go missing in Vietnam with dinosaurs. The trailer went crazy viral online, and it is so dark and gritty, and it reminds me of like a King Kong, Skull Island, Jurassic. It's awesome. It is awesome. I'm going to read you what the logline of the movie is. It's a search and rescue team known as Vulture Squad sent to an isolated jungle valley to uncover the fate of a missing Green Beret platoon. As they hunt through the primordial depths of the valley, they discover ancient horrors that not only threaten to unravel their minds, but to end their lives as well. The movie is based on a book called Primitive War. There's 4 books in the series. So whether you're a fan of movies in general, dinosaurs, war movies, the Primitive War series, this podcast is for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. If you're liking the conversation, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Enjoy. I did not know I needed a Vietnam War dinosaur movie until I saw the trailer. It delivers on all fronts. I haven't been this excited about a film in so long. What got you attracted to the movie?
Well, one, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I mean, I got excited because of the same thing, really. When I came across, I was just happened to be, just looking through social media, and I saw a comic cover of a comic that was coming out with a Utah raptor fighting a Vietnam soldier. And I was like, what is this? This is like every boy's fantasy when he's growing up, playing with your G.I. Joes and playing with dinosaur figures. And I know I did growing up. And I looked into it and then found out that there was this book called Primitive War. And I got in touch with the author and went from there.
How does that work? Because you've obviously found it, and then you wrote the screenplay for the film?
Yeah, so I wrote to Ethan Pettis, who's the author. We had a dialogue. I told him my intentions. I was like, I've done these films. I'm a director. I'd love to adapt this. And I'm a writer-director. I like to write my own pieces of work and also work on others. But, yeah, this particular one, I was like, he sent me the book, and I read it, and I was marking down notes as I was reading it. And, I could just see it in my mind's eye of what I could do with it. So I took all the scenes that I liked and molded it into a film, so I wrote it based on the book.
So how this first film is an adaptation of just the first one of the whole series of Primitive War? Correct.
I mean, there's so much in books, they can only have so much in movies. Would have been cool as a TV show for Netflix, but we're an independent studio, and it's funny because I took it out to the marketplace as a producer, because I produce my movies, I write them, I direct them, I do the whole thing. I took it to the marketplace, and Hollywood just couldn't get their head around a Vietnam dinosaur movie. They're like, what? So I ended up doing it myself.
That's crazy. Where do you raise the funding for something like that?
A lot of it's just in-house. Our producers here, family and friends, and this particular film, we took it out to a larger group of investors that seem to understand at least my vision and trust me to do it. So we ended up doing it ourselves.
Will there be a theatrical release in the United States?
I am in talks with that right now. That is the plan.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. I want to see that on the big screen.
Well, we're mixing it in Dolby Atmos. It sounds great. It's made for the big screen, so that's the intention.
You just released the trailer, so where are you in the process now in post?
We're like 70-80% through post. Like the cut's locked. We're working on dinosaur shots every day. There's just like hundreds of dinosaur shots plus more other visual effects shots on top of that. I write, direct. I'm the visual effects producer. I'm the visual effects supervisor as well. So I'm doing like the whole thing. I'm also editing the film. I was also the production designer. So all that stuff you see in the camps and the sets, and that's all out of my vision. We're kind of in the stage now where we're heading towards the finish line, which is great. It's starting to show people the film. People are excited. So it's a really, really exciting time.
Do you have any favorite scenes that you could share with us?
Oh God. I don't want to do spoilers, you know what I mean? Because that's what's so good about the trailer is I think that it kind of took people by surprise, because it's gone viral over the weekend. There's been millions of views across the internet, which is great for us. I mean, it's a bit of a calculated risk when you're an independent film. It's like if big discussions for weeks on end now, actually, probably 4 weeks of discussions of like, if we release the trailer, what if it goes bad? What if people don't like it? Then it's like, does it lose the momentum? Does it even build momentum? But luckily for us, it's gone the other way. And, just inundated with people who are like, I've never heard of this, or they have heard of it and they want to see it. So that's great. So I don't want to do spoilers, but look, there's definitely some favorite scenes in there, obviously. If any of fans of the book, they know that there's some really horrific parts in there dealing with the Utah Raptors, what happens to a particular character in there, and that was one of the scenes that grabbed me in the book, so that's definitely in the movie.
Was it hard figuring out which dinosaurs to put in the trailer? Because that's the first look of it. It was.
Big discussions, obviously, around that, and different edits and how much we show and how much we don't show, and what shots were ready at the time. And, there was a couple of last minute I pulled out because I just wasn't happy with them. They weren't dinosaurs, they were just other visual effects shots. Replaced them with some other stuff. But those dinosaur shots were kind of very much curated to be the ones that we show first. And it's a bit of a gasp for us, holding my breath, you know what I mean? It's like you're wincing at the camera being like, oh my God, people are going to see what we've been working on for like a year now. So it's like a long time, every day, day in, day out. I was coming into the office here, editing up until, early hours of mornings, having like 20-hour days of editing, sleeping in here sometimes and waking up and just keep going because you're kind of like all-encompassing. And then you start reading stories about, Stanley Kubrick and Francis Ford Coppola, doing the same thing. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. Got to go home for a while.
So we're seeing the Spinosaurus. We're seeing the Utah Raptor, the T-Rex, which, I watched a lot of the feedback, too, of the audiences. And people were just talking about, like, the T-Rex's lips and that we're seeing some feathers. And I know that's true to the book. How accurate were you trying to get the CGI of the dinosaurs to the book?
Yeah, there's no point, being like a typical Hollywood, studio or a Hollywood suit where you sort of take the book and then throw it out the window. And I think we've seen a lot of that lately, and it just doesn't go well. And I'm a huge fan of movies myself. Like, I'm there every opening night of like Marvel, every opening night of the big studio films. Like, I'm a fanboy myself. So I feel that when studios do that to my IP, I love Star Wars or whatever else, So I didn't want to do that, but at the same time, you have to have my input because it's I created the movie, and my artist and that want to have their stamp on it. So, but I was very careful to go in and say we're doing feathers on raptors, and all my visual effects team was like, "Don't do feathers. This is so hard. Don't do feathers." But they did, and I think they really work. So I definitely want feathers because that's what grabbed my attention, of just the book and the feathers themselves in the comics and the book. And the T-Rex with lips. And I talked to Ethan, I talked to some dinosaur, experts about what the current status is of different, species and what we should be doing. So yeah, I was careful enough to make sure that it's true to the book while also having our own thing in there if I saw it fitted better.
My favorite movie of all time is Jurassic Park. So to see, because back then, dinosaurs didn't really have the feathers, and then over time, like, everything changes. So to see where we are now and to see your depiction of it, the raptors look incredible. That final shot of the three of them with the one in the eye.
Yeah, the shot that's all over the internet.
The
still that's used in every thumbnail. So yeah, look, that's one of my favorite shots, and that's why I put it in. And it was, again, big discussions of it. Do we show it? And I said, we got to show something. And I think this is the shot to do it. Because otherwise people will just have, because we're an indie, the sort of the base level is people go, oh, they're going to cheap out. They're going to like not show things. And while we kind of, just show little bits and pieces in the trailer, in the movie, it's like, they're right there. They're like, they're just front and center. So I had to show something. And I think that was a good shot to show because it's one of my favorites. And the Utah Raptor with the knife in its eye, the Cyclops, it's a cool character. But yeah, look, one of my favorite movies is Jurassic Park as well. Like, I saw it when I was, however it was, 9. So huge impression on me at the time in a cinema. It was like really country town, Australia, back then where I was living. And I remember like there was parents like pulling their kids out of the audience up the screening, up the walkway because they're like, this is too scary. And my mum turned to my dad and said, if these kids die in this car, we're out of here. I remember that quite vividly, and I'm just there going, this is awesome. So yeah, huge weight on my shoulders because I'm such a fan of Jurassic Park. We're an indie film. We're trying to make it look bigger. So there's all these different factors going on every day.
It has pretty similar vibes to like King Kong Skull Island, like those dark, gritty. Is it more of a mature theme of movie?
100%. any age could watch it. Like, again, it depends on if you can get into a screening of it in a theater with an R rating. But like, for example, like we've all got kids here in the office, like all our employees here, and of course, they get, I'm in the editing room blaring out the sound so people in the other offices can hear what's going on. They like poke their head in, and their kids come in, and the kids are just like mesmerized. I'm like, I don't think it's appropriate for them. The kids are like, no, I love it. It's so cool. It's like Call of Duty with dinosaurs. So
actually,
I think even any age will probably get a kick out of it if they're kind of that mature.
Can you speak a little on the sound design of how you're creating the sounds of the animals?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've got a great sound team in LA. Who actually started off in Australia here with us, but they've gone to LA, so I use them with all my films. And again, huge discussions every day. I know there's that YouTube clip that goes around of like what they think the dinosaurs could sound like with this really sort of howling duck-like thing. And we looked at that, but again, no one really knows what dinosaurs sound like. So I sort of gave my guys free rein to sort of come up with different things, and we're sort of going off like cassowaries and emus, and I think you can hear some of that in the trailer. The raptors have this like throaty sort of like ooh, ooh. So yeah, it's so hard coming off Jurassic Park as well because they're so iconic. The raptor screams and snarls and that. And in my rough cut, I just laid in sort of bits and pieces from other movie sound effects just to get the idea when people watch it. But then when you hear it with your own, it takes some time to get used to because it's like, this is brand new sounds. I've never heard this before. They're not ingrained in the pop culture yet. So I'm always pushing them harder to go, let's try to find something iconic. Let's go harder. Let's find something that people go, wow, that's different. But like I said, we're mixing in Atmos, and I listened to it in Atmos the other day, and you can hear the Deinonychus going through the grass behind you and coming around the other side, and has a really like very cinematic feel to it. So I was like, well, that scene works. Once you get in sound, sometimes scenes work better with sound than you can even just in an edit. So I had some scenes in the long grass with Deinonychus kind of going around the squad, and it sounds cool. And then I heard it in Atmos, and I'm like, whoa, it elevates the whole thing.
That must be so fun for you as a creative because you have almost limitless freedom because people don't really know what it sounds like, but you're creating the ambiance, and then like, let's throw in the dinosaur sounds here. Yeah,
it's very cool, very, very rewarding, and always a bit, panic attacky when you sort of go, oh my God, I'm going to sign off on this, and I hope this is the best.
What dinosaur were you most excited to see the design of?
I think the Utah Raptors with the feathers, because it's so different. That was the most one I was excited to see, and the most one we worked on to curate it to get it to where it needs to be. And the Spinosaurus is something that I think a lot of fans of the books were a bit surprised at reading the comments. They're like, what? This isn't in the book. Which is always good, right? Always good to throw a curveball at people. So I think that was a cool design as well.
What makes the movie rated R?
I think just the war factor. We really wanted to make sure it was a war movie first. There's a lot of sort of, not to throw shade on other filmmakers, a lot of sort of, lower budget dinosaur films out there that go straight to, streaming or whatever, that are very much like a dinosaur monster movie first, and then sort of like a bumbling idiot squad of people second. And I really wanted to be a war movie first. That happens. It's like, what if Platoon walked into Jurassic Park rather than Jurassic Park with some crazy mercenary gun people that don't know. So I brought in Captain Dale Dye, who co-wrote Platoon and did the military advising on Saving Private Ryan. I'm a friend of he's a friend of mine, so I got him to read the script. He's a Vietnam vet himself, so we really deep dived into the military aspect and make it as realistic as we could. And so he ran. We had an ex-Marine Corps come out from the US to Australia and be on set every day and make the guys and the crew remember that we're doing this, that there's people who actually wore these uniforms for real in real life, to just have that level of authenticity. So there's definitely a war film first where there's blood and swearing and stuff that you would expect from guys going out in country in Vietnam, by themselves. There's that, and then the dinosaur attacks themselves. There's stuff in there that if you've read the book, it's quite I don't really hold back. Obviously, there's a certain line. I didn't want to cross the schlocky, gonzo sort of going crazy, but it's definitely like Saving Private Ryan with dinosaurs in a way. Like, there's definitely some that level of blood and guts.
I mean, I feel like you're the guy to make this because you worked with Steven Spielberg before, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
you've done like really gritty. Like, the trailer really depicts those kind of movies, which is so cool to see a rated R film in that aspect.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, there's no point just trying to do another Jurassic Park because Jurassic Park has that covered.
Right.
Has that PG-13 sort of family action adventure film. This one's definitely war, action, horror elements to it. So we're definitely trying to go that way because they can't. I mean, who says they can't? But at this point in time, I doubt that a big studio like Universal will let them go down that road.
What are you using as placeholders for the dinosaurs? Is there any puppetry or anything?
There was some puppets on set. We had some puppets, and there's bits and pieces that's still in the cut, but a lot of it was more that for the actors and then we took it out or replaced it over with something else. Would I have loved a Stan Winston massive T-Rex? Of course I would have. Seeing what they did in Jurassic Park was amazing, and the subsequent Jurassic Park shows, but definitely the first one. But being who we are and where we are in the industry, it just wasn't going to happen, and we decided to shoot it all, on location, which I think the trailer reads like that. You can see that we shot it for real in the jungles, and some of them were way up in mountains, and that we never would have got those puppets, huge puppets up there. But yeah, we definitely had versions of puppets, and that's always good for the actors. Bringing them in those days was great for them and great for the camera, great for lighting. We could hear all the references. So I think that was important. It scared the bejesus out of me one day, though. One of those puppets came up. I was talking to the actors, and next thing you know, there's right behind me, and it had a voice box in there to do a growl, and I wasn't expecting it. And I literally jumped out of my skin and hit the roof of the set, and all the cast were just cracking up. So, that's a memory that sticks out for me forever.
What was it like when you got the cast together for the first time on set?
It's always a mix of emotions those first days. I think everyone could read everyone who read the script and was on the show could definitely feel like this could be something special and something that the audience and the fans would definitely catch on to. So there was definitely this level of we're doing something that could be good. And I worked on sets where you think that's good and it turns out bad. I worked on sets where you think it's bad and it turns out good. So you never really know. But I think consistently through this movie there was this feel of hey, we're onto something. This is going to work. And they banded together really, really well. And then you add the level of having the military advisors take them out and do a mini boot camp, and they're every day, and they always had to do push-ups, and they weren't allowed to be modern. They weren't iPhones. It was all very much 60s feel for all the cast and crew, which was really, really good. And I think that really helped the cast bond and get together. So they would always just go out into the bush while we were setting up the cameras, and they'd come back, and I'm like, where did you guys go? And they're like, oh, we're out there just doing tactics and just doing training and just keeping our things sharp. Vulture Squad. And I was like, all right, good job.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
Do you have
that was great.
How does it work for licensing for music for a movie during that wartime? Is it hard to get rights for songs for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's doable. Anything's doable, and I've cut in many 60s songs. Well, not many. I've cut in my favorite 60s songs, and we're in the process of getting those rights before we lock the cut. So, yeah, I don't want to say which ones, but definitely some good ones. Definitely ones that everyone will go, oh, that's the 60s song. So sometimes you just have to go the cliche way because it just works.
Do you have a favorite part of the entire process of movie making?
Yeah, I mean, I used to say editing was my favorite part because it's really the final draft of the whole process. You really get to change things if you want, cut things out, move things around, and play with it. And I love that aspect, just sitting in the edit room myself and just coming up with things and just being clever and smart. There's stuff that we just didn't have time to shoot, and you just go and you go, hey, if I reverse this shot, if I flop this shot, if we grab the first take of this shot before the actors were there, let's move it over here, and then you can start creating different ideas. I used to say that, and it still is my favorite part probably, but I never used to really enjoy. I mean, I always enjoyed directing because it's making the movie, but this movie definitely I really enjoyed the making of it because again the crew were really great and just this feeling on set. I really enjoyed directing this movie, and the actors were fantastic, and just the concept itself and the action scenes every day was just something that's right up my alley. So I really enjoyed directing part of this movie.
Yeah, you could see it in the trailer, and I mean, same thing with the actors. When I'm showing people the trailer and they're seeing Jeremy Piven, they're like, "No way!" It gets people so excited to see it because you see how authentic it actually looks.
Yeah, and I've seen a few comments because I read the comments every day because I can't help myself, even though I shouldn't. But you can see from the comments where a lot of people are saying, for this sort of movie, like a dinosaur in Vietnam movie, like the actors commit to the bit, and I've seen a few comments that now, and I'm glad that they pick up on that, because I believe that's true. Like they really do. When you go through the edit, as much as people go, "What, Dinosaurs Vietnam? That's crazy!" Like they commit to it, and I think that makes it more realistic. They're not there going, "Oh, this is just a schlocky movie, and I'll do whatever I want." Like they're actually fully committed, and you can see that. There's certain scenes in there I'm like, "Damn, that's good! Like that's really good stuff."
So shooting's all done now, right?
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
Although after watching the trailer and seeing the reactions, I am doing some small pickups next Tuesday, just of like some extra visual effects, green screen actors on the green screens, because I can't help myself. I got to keep going.
Is there a favorite shoot day that you have?
Favorite shoot day? The scenes on the boat. You can see the boat in the first part of the movie, and also the bit where the Spinosaurus comes out. They were some fun days, because it's almost like an excursion. When you're on the film set and you're doing the same slog, you like in a studio, and then you go out to the location and you're in the jungles. It's just kind of nice. Everyone just had this like bit of a pick in their step to be like, hey, we're somewhere different. We're on a boat. You know what I mean? We're really on a boat in a river, and we're actually doing scenes on a boat. It just had a different feeling those days, where we were just out there for a couple of days just shooting the stuff on the boat, and it was very much like we had to keep just the main crew on the boat, and the rest of them were behind in like other boats following us with camera boats and that, and we were just like me, the camera guys, the first AD, and basically just the cast, and we were just like on this boat. It felt like we were almost becoming Apocalypse Now, where we were just like on the boat, just being like coming up with stuff and going crazy as we're going down the river, and it was just a really, really fun couple of days. And we were heading back to the docks at the end of the day, and the sunset was going down on the mountains, and it was like literally sunset down the river, and it hit us just right, where there's this magic golden hour, and I just said, just keep shooting, let's just keep shooting, and just be in your character and just act. And it's turned out to a whole montage scene with a 60s song that I've added in the film. Wasn't in the script, we just shot it on the day because it's just perfect, and the actors were just in their character, and I've added this whole montage on the boat just because it was so amazing.
Movie magic.
Yeah, exactly.
How long can people expect the movie to be?
Pretty epic. Like, yeah, it's definitely not 90 minutes, I'll tell you that much. It's got a decent runtime, that's for sure.
What challenges are there when you're filming on location, like on the boat? Are there rainy days where you have to just hold off?
On this one, we were such a tight schedule because our budget was so tight. We just had to keep going. Luckily for us, the days on the boat were sunny. Most of the days, weather-wise, was okay. There was a week where we had to go right into the jungle, like way, way, way into the jungle, up a huge mountain, and it did have a monsoon that whole week, of course. And like the gear got bogged, and everyone was like, it was just a real panic week, and that was probably one of the hardest weeks of my life filming, because we were like literally in the rainforest, way away from base camp. Things were bogged, we couldn't get up there. People were like, we're going to pull the pin. My first AD and I had to get together and sort of like, pull it back up and be like, all right, instead of doing it over there, we're going to go over here while we do this. You get the things unbogged. We had to bring in army trucks, like proper army trucks, that took crew up the mountain, which then was only one at a time, and it was this whole big thing. So we got through it. By the end of the week, everyone was like, oh my God, we did it. But yeah, it was definitely a huge week.
It's so cool hearing you talk about how like authentic you're actually keeping it. That makes me as a viewer so excited to see it.
Yeah, I hope it translates to screen. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like, I really hope it does.
What do you think that audiences are going to be taking away from it? Whether they're a fan of the book, they're a fan of the dinosaur genre, or even just the war genre?
Yeah, I think they'll take. I think all the above. I'm sure there's heaps of people out there that maybe haven't read the book, they've heard of the book. I'm hoping the average audience really just gets a kick out of, as much as it's a fun popcorn movie, as in like, all this stuff happens, but there's definitely these elements in there that makes you feel for these characters, and I think people will walk away and have a good time and just be like, wow, just haven't seen a dinosaur movie like that before. I think the whole movie, the mashup together, I don't think people have seen it, so I hope people just walk away and have a fun time, but at the same time just remember that these guys in Vietnam were real, and I think we give a bit of an honor to them as much as it's also a dinosaur movie and that. So I think people will just have a great time in the cinema. I mean, that's what I enjoy, and that's what I'm trying to make sure people get out of it.
I can't wait to see it. I'm going to be first in line. Thank you so much for your time.
That's all right.
And one final question. It says coming 2025. Is there anything you could say about possibly when?
I'm hoping third quarter.
Third quarter.
Yeah, like there was a thing last year, a big like, hey, do we scramble and get out before Jurassic World? because when we greenlit ourselves this movie, like I'd come back from America, from another premiere of my last movie that I shot here, and I premiered over there last year. And while I was over there, I had meetings with Jeremy Piven and a few other people, and I sort of came back to the crew here, and I said, hey, I think we should do it. I think we should do it ourselves. And everyone's like, crazy. So it literally was this meeting in his office where I was like, pitched to everyone here, and everyone's like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, all right, we're going to do Primitive War ourselves. And everyone's like, whoa. And then like literally 2 weeks later, it's like Jurassic World Rebirth shooting, and it comes out next year. And I was like, oh man, of all the times. But I think it could work that we're both out the same year together. And then there was a rush that do we go before Jurassic Park? And I said, a rushed movie's bad forever. Let's not try to rush it just because. And I think that won the day. So I think that's worked out for the best.
I mean, as a fan, I think high tide rises all ships. So I think it's just going to get more eyes all over. And it just a huge Dinosaur fan. So that's why I'm so excited about both of them.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's room for both. I think have a family weekend and see Primitive War, then have a boys' night and come and see have a family night with Jurassic Park and a boys' night to see Primitive War.
Oh, I'm bringing my wife to Primitive War. This movie is
exactly.
for me. Cool.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Luke.
That's all right. Thank you.
If you ever come out to the States, I'd love to do it in person.
Yeah, I'll be there for the premiere.
Awesome.
I'm coming out there for the premiere, so I'm sure there'll be lots of big discussions afterwards.
Awesome. Well, that sounds good.
Awesome.
Thanks, Luke.
That's all right. Thank you.
I'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye.